Okay, in this problem series, we are going to go through a couple problems with inflation. So we're going to calculate the CPI and calculate the inflation rate. And then in the second problem, we're going to be finding out converting wage rates, so nominal wages to real wages, and finding out if you're better off or worse off. So for problem one, you have 4 items in your basket for the CPI and the quantities, and then I've given you the prices over 3 different years. So our 4 items in the baskets are movie tickets, which we buy 10 of, gasoline, which we buy 20 gallons of per year, rice at 50 pounds per year, and 1 computer per year. Okay? And then in the prices, we have the price for 2000. The price for movie tickets is $7. Gasoline is $2 a gallon. Rice is 50 cents a pound. And the computer costs $1,000. The price in 2001 is $8 per movie ticket, $4 per gallon of gas, 75 cents per pound of rice, and $1,004 for the computer. And then finally, the price in 2002 is $9 per movie ticket, $3.50 per gallon of gas, $1.25 per pound of rice, and $990 for the computer. Okay, so for part A, I want you to go through and find the basket cost for each year. So find out if we rang this up at the grocery store, what would your total receipt be? That's the basket cost. So 2000, 2001, and 2002. Part B, I want you to find the CPI for each year, assuming that 2000 is the base year. And part C, I want you to find the annual inflation rate. So when we say annual inflation rate, it means per year. So you're going to have to find inflation between 2000 and 2001. That's inflation in 2001. And then how much prices rose between 2001 and 2002. That would be the annual inflation rate for 2002. That's question 1. Question 2 is, let me zoom in. If your wage rate increases from $100,000 in 2013 to $125,000 in 2050, while the CPI went from 119.5 to 173.4 over that same time period, are you better off, worse off, or the same in 2050 than in 2013? So in this problem, if you start out at $100,000 a year last year, in 2050, if your wage went up to $125,000, but prices went from 119.5 to 173.4, are you better off, worse off, or the same in 2050 than when you started? Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, and when you're finished, we will go over the problems. Okay, so for this problem set, part A, find the basket cost for each year. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the basket cost in this little area right here for each year. So for 2000, we want to take quantities times prices and add them together in 2000. So in 2000, that's going to be equal to 10 times $7, this times this, plus 20 times 2, plus 50 times 0.5, plus 1 times 1,000. And if you go through the math, you should come up with, multiply and add that up, you should come up with $1,135. So your receipt for this quantity of goods in the basket would be $1,135 in 2000. For 2001, you take quantities times prices in 2001. So for 2001, that's going to be equal to 10 times 8 plus 20 times 4 plus 50 times 0.75 plus 1 times 1004. Multiply that up, add it together, and you should come up with $1,201.50. So 1201.50. And then lastly, we're going to do the same thing for 2002. So we take 10 times 9 plus 20 times 350 plus 50 times 125 plus 1 times 990. And if you multiply that up and add it all together, you should come up with $1,212.50. So for part A, you should come up with 1,000 or 1135. For 2001, you should come up with 1201.5. And for 2002, you should come up with 1212.5. All right. Now we're going to go through part B, so we need to find the CPI for each year. And remember, we calculated the CPI is equal to, so our little hint right here is the CPI equals the basket cost in year T over the basket cost in the base year times 100. And that's going to be the CPI for that year. So to find the CPI in 2000, we take the basket cost in 2000, 1135 divided by the basket cost in the base year, which is 2000, divided by 1135. So for 2000, it's going to be equal to 1135 over 1135 multiplied by 100. This cancels out to 1 times 100 gives us a CPI in 2000 of 100, which we always said the CPI in the base year is equal to 100. For 2001, we're going to take the basket cost in 2001, 1201.5, divided by the basket cost in the base year, which is 2000, so 1135. And then we multiply by 100. And if you do that, you should come up with 105.86. And then lastly, for 2002, we take the basket cost in 2002, so 1212.5, divided by the basket cost in the base year, which is 2000, so divided by 1135, then multiply by 100. And if you do that, you should come up with 106.8, is it 83? 83. So 1212.5 divided by 1135 times 100 gives you 106.83. Then lastly, to find annual inflation, we want to find the percentage change in the CPI from 2001, or between 2000 and 2001, and then between 2001 and 2002. So to find the annual inflation rate for 2001, that's going to be equal to our CPI in 2001, so 105.81, or 86, excuse me, minus the CPI in 2000, which was 100, over the CPI in the previous year, which is 2000, so 100, and then we multiply it by 100, and that comes out to 5.86%. Or on average, prices for the average consumer rose by 5.86% between 2000 and 2001. To find the inflation rate for 2002, we just find the percentage change in the CPI between 2001 and 2002. So we take the CPI in the current year, 2002, 106.83, minus the CPI in 2001, the previous year, 105.86, divided by CPI in the previous year, so 2001, and that's 105.86, and then we multiply that by 100, and if you do the math here, you should come up with 0.91%. So while prices rose for consumers by about 5.86% between 2000 and 2001, prices only rose by about 0.91% between 2001 and 2002. Okay, so that answers question 1. Next, we want to go through question 2. So if our wage increased from $1,000 in $100,000 in 2013 to $125,000 in 2050, and the CPI went from 119.5 to 173.4, are we better off or worse off in 2050 than in 2013? So to do this, we can transform our wage in 2013 to what would be the equivalent wage rate and purchasing power in 2050 using these prices. So we said we can use the wage today, or that's going to be in 2050 for you, is going to be equal to the wage in the past, or the wage in 2013, multiplied by the price level today, which is 2050, over the price level in 2013. So we're canceling out $2013, multiplying by $2050, and that gets us to what would be the equivalent wage rate today. Okay, so that's going to be equal to $100,000 is what we made in 2013, times the price level in 2050, which we said was 173.4. And then we divide that by the price level in 2013, which was 119.5. And if we do that, let's see. We come out to have the same level of comfort in 2050 as you did in 2013 making $100,000, you would have to make $145,104.60. So over over that same time frame, your wage only went up to $125,000. So your wage went up by 25%, but prices went up by more than 25%. So things cost more than what your wage went up. So you are relatively worse off in 2050 than you were in 2013, even though your wage went up by $25,000. It's because the stuff that you buy with that money went up by more than that amount. So overall, you need $145,104 in 2050 to have the exact same level of comfort, or to be able to buy the same amount of stuff that you were able to buy in 2013 with your $100,000. So with that, you should be able to answer some questions such as calculating the CPI, calculating inflation rate, and then using the CPI or some price index to transform past values or past nominal dollars into current dollars or purchasing power.